I'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. or 7:03 right now, and we'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd also like for us to just take a moment to pause for a moment of silence. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, Happy New Year again. We met last week, but I welcome those who are signed in or called in that might be our residents, citizens, or guests. Welcome to our Town of Edmonston Town Hall meeting. And so we're going to begin our meeting with public comments. So if there are any public comments, anyone from the public that would like to address us for 3 minutes, you are welcome to unmute yourself and do so. You can state your name and your address. Sometimes when you're on the phone, I just want to give people an opportunity to unmute if necessary. All right. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for joining us anyway. We appreciate it. I want to start out with new business. Oh, and I wanted to make mention, I really like the flag, Rick. Thank you so much. We're getting better and better at this virtual thing. So the first item on the agenda is our new business, and it's the consideration of approval of our minutes. And it's the virtual work session meeting minutes from December the 6th. Also virtual regular council meeting minutes from December 8th. And then we have the virtual closed session meeting minutes from December 8th. And at this time, I will accept a motion to approve our minutes that were outlined. I will accept the motion.
I move we accept the minutes, approve the minutes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tuberville. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. McCauley. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes have been approved. And so we move on to the review of how to vacate the street right away at the end of 52nd Avenue and Crittenden Street. I will open it up for Mr. Barnes and Ms. Ferguson to, well, Ms. Ferguson,
Yes,
to
Mayor.
provide us the information.
As you recall, we have a resident that has requested that you consider vacating the right-of-way between the end of 52nd Avenue where Crittenden, and it goes approximately the length of a lot to the drainage channel that comes down from Kenilworth Avenue. The street, a paper street, it is with just grass. It was put on there at some point in time to thinking it might go through to Buchanan Street. That, of course, has never happened and don't anticipate that it ever would happen. So the adjoining property owner has requested that you consider vacating that. And I asked the town attorney to go through that process. She sent out to you all tonight all of those necessary documents and that she's going to go over, and they will be available then to assist the property owner with that process.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to the town attorney.
The rights of way that you have in the town are by and large dedicated to the public use through the platting that took place years and years ago. And for anyone to plat a subdivision, they had to provide streets so that properties could access a road. And some of those rights of way are not improved and some of them are. So when they are improved, such as the roads that the town has, then the town controls the use of those roads. When the dedication has not been accepted by any government, then there's less of a reason for the property to be held for the public because there's no plans for it. And so, yeah, anyone who's an adjacent owner who wishes to file a petition for vacation can do that through the Park and Planning Commission, and they control it. Depending on the size and the complexity of the vacation, it's either done at the planning director level or the planning board level. And there's a law that applies to it in the county and also a process that has been adopted at the commission. By and large, the basics of it is that a new plat has to be created that shows the re-subdivision of the property going to the adjacent property owners. And generally it's 50% down the middle, 50% goes to one property owner, 50% goes to the other. And then the reason they require a re-subdivision is because, or a plat, a replatting of it, is because that property then becomes part of the lot, the adjacent lot, and is taxable. So it's no longer subject to public control. It's done through, as I said, a process through Park and Planning Commission, and a number of things are required. A meets and bounds survey, a new plat, a copy of the old plat, calculation of the square footage that's going to be transferred. That's all done by whomever is asking for the vacation. The town's part in any of that would be to indicate whether it consents or not. When an owner asks for this, notice is given to all the relevant utilities and to the local government that controls the area in which the property is located. And so the town's response would be to either, like I said, vote to consent or to oppose. And that's about the only part that the town has in this, since you don't really have any interest in using the land. So you would either consent or not. But there's an application fee, and the cost of it, which requires having an engineer participate to create all of these documents that have to be created, would be paid by the adjacent owners.
Sue Ellen, Ms. Ferguson, did we get Mr. Schaaf? Did we get Mr. Barnes his input, feedback?
Yeah, I've talked to him several times. I think Mrs. Tarasak has too. He has really no objection one way or the other. I think, as I said to Sue Ellen earlier, the intent for Mrs. Tarasak is to request or ask him to eventually deed his share to her. And I don't know that he has any objection to that. He's pretty non-committal. Yeah, he doesn't really care one way or the other. I think he's happy with the adjacent property owner and wants to go along with it, essentially. So I don't see him being any kind of problem.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be a problem. It's Sue Ellen, Ms. Ferguson did mention that it's taxable. So I want to make sure he understands that part. You know, yeah.
I can tell you, he does understand it's taxable. And that's, when I talked to him, he said he is gonna just deed his portion over to her, because he says his property is fine the way it is. He's got his fence up, and, you know, she said she is gonna take care of whatever expenses it is to keep him the way he is now, so he will stay whole.
It would be important for them to deal with an engineer before doing that, because then what's submitted to Park and Planning would show a plat with all the property going to her with his agreement. And so it would have to be set up that way. not make sense to go ahead and have a plat set up where they divide it equally and then they have to resub it to transfer. So that should be something that's discussed with an engineer, but you know, the town's part of this is kind of minimal.
Yeah, I honestly get that part. I'm just concerned about,
Yeah.
yeah, Mr. Schaaf and it going the way he expects it to go,
Mhm.
you know?
Well,
So,
he will have a say-so over it. There's no doubt about that.
mhm. Okay. Any other comments from council?
I just
Yes,
have a
Ms.
basic
Turbeville.
question. So the right of way, is that the town's property that's like kind of behind their property? I'm trying to
But-
understand like what piece of land we're talking about.
It's 52nd Avenue. If you're going down 52nd
Yeah.
Avenue past Betsy's house and you come to the stop sign,
Right?
it's just keeping going right forward. So it's the piece of property that's between what used to be the Barnes house and Mr. Schaaf's house. And it's the width of a street.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
So
it actually is a street,
Yeah, it's.
Yes,
Guy.
It's called Guy Street.
Guy
it's a paper
yeah.
street, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
And so it's grass. It's been grass. And what the Barneses have done.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, the Barneses used it as driveway. And a mobile trailer parked in the
Right.
back for
Right.
somebody to live in.
right.
Okay, got it.
Fantastic. All right, you're welcome. Thank you, Ms. Ferguson, Mr. Barnes. All right, next item is our police report from Chief Gibson. And you have to unmute.
Thank you. To Mayor Gant, members of the council, let me say good evening to you. Please accept my report for the month of December 2021 for the police department. With respect to crime, there were no homicides, no forcible rapes, no felony assaults, no burglaries, one auto theft, no simple assaults, no thefts, 5 theft from autos, for a total of 6 crimes reported during the month of December. With respect to incidentals, 6 parking tickets were written, 42 moving tickets were written. There were 4 arrests, 44 premises were checked, 73 traffic stops were made by officers, 28 vehicles were impounded. During the month, we had 167 calls for police service. There were 126 citations as a result of our red light camera program. With respect to revenue, $14,475 came in as a result of our red light camera. And traffic impoundment, the revenue dollars were $1,870. With respect to code compliance, during the month, there were 3 civil citations written, 17 warning letters, 2 vehicles were impounded, 35 parking tickets were written. There were 20 home and business inspections performed, and code violation follow-ups were 10. And our code compliance officer, Bill, just noted a couple of small things that occurred during the month. And, you know, I sent this report to everybody earlier, and you can just take note, just goes into a little detail about things we're doing on both Buchanan Street as it relates to traffic, parking, abandoned vehicles and the like. So I'm just going to share that bit. I wanted to touch on something that occurred this past weekend for your information and consideration. Excuse me. Early Saturday morning, around 3:30, the Bladensburg Police Department were pursuing an intoxicated motorist. And apparently this pursuit started up on Route 450, a very long ways away from the town of Edmonston. At some point, the officers lost this car, and so they're riding around trying to find the car. And the car goes down Route 450, goes around Peace Cross, travels back up Baltimore Avenue, and turns right onto Decatur Street. At some point within, like, say, a block or two of coming into the town of Edmonston, the car lost control, left the roadway, struck a couple of trees and hit a wall. And the officers heard the crash and came back around Baltimore Avenue. They didn't see the crash, but they heard it. And they went over, proceeded to arrest the guy for being intoxicated as well as having a firearm on him. And we did not find out about this until the following morning. And we took an incident report documenting the fact that there was damage to trees as well as the wall belonging to one of our residents. And I just wanted to share that tidbit because we didn't have a lot of detail when we first mentioned that there was some vehicle that got into a collision along Decatur Street at 3:30 Saturday morning. Other than those particulars, that is my report, Mayor, for the month of December.
Thank you, Chief. I like the breakdown of that report. I meant to say that. I like that breakdown. Any questions or comments for the Chief? Yes, Ms. Tuberville.
Chief, I appreciate you looking into to what happened on Saturday night. So am I correct in understanding that it's not that Bladensburg police were pursuing the suspect down and ended up coming from Baltimore Avenue down to Decatur, but that they had lost the suspect, and then once the suspect had crashed and made a whole heap of noise, that's when they came on the scene?
That was the information that was relayed to me.
Okay. For your information, I recently learned that one of our residents who lives right where that occurred has like a Ring video of the whole incident. If that would be of value, I would imagine that it is of some evidentiary value. If you want me to see if we can get that footage.
Well, I will pass that along to the Bladensburg chief for his information and consideration, and we'll go from there.
Okay, because the neighbor showed me the video, and you hear the car crash, and then you see it, and then you see the police come on the scene. At some point, you can even hear the suspect saying, I apologize, I apologize. It's a completely insane scenario.
Okay. All right. I'll share that. I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Tuberville. Thank you, Chief. Any other questions or comments for our Chief concerning this report or anything? All right, cool. Thank you. So as we move on, our town administrator, Mr. Barnes.
Hello?
I'm sorry,
Mayor.
did I miss someone?
Hello? Yes, hi. Oh, I was trying to unmute. This is Crystal from Gallatin Street. I had a question about the revenue that was collected. I think the chief mentioned from the camera that's coming off of Kenilworth. And I just wondered about the tickets that are administered, particularly here around Lafayette and Gallatin. There's a lot of speeding that goes on. And are we collecting money from those tickets?
Hello, Miss
That the
Crystal.
town gave? Mhm.
Hi, this is Mayor
Hi.
Gannon. Were you on earlier? Were you
Yeah,
on
I've been
earlier?
on this meeting today. Yes,
Yes.
I
I
was
don't want
listening
to,
to the.
the report. Yeah. I
I was
don't want to,
listening to the report. Mhm.
yes. Thank you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. You can't see me. I can't see you. So, well, I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to, I'll hold your question until after our town administrators report. And then,
Oh,
yeah, because we give the opportunity for citizens input at the beginning. And I understand you heard something that is bringing on the question. I do understand that, but we need to go through our process first. And then if the chief is able or desires, he can answer your question now, or he can do that off on the telephone. He can contact you. So just hold one
okay.
moment.
I
Okay.
just wasn't sure of the format of the meeting because I know you mentioned at the beginning if the persons had comments and such.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't have
No,
any
I
question or comment
understand.
at the beginning. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. But
I understand
the
totally.
format after everyone speaks, then the residents would have an opportunity, or just as you go along, and when you ask if there are questions, we should just hold our questions until some other time.
So the format is that we try to get our residents to comment before we actually get into the meeting, because sometimes keeping you here, you may not want the entire meeting. So we, for the convenience of our residents, we ask them to speak beforehand. And as I mentioned, I do understand sometimes we'll talk about something that will cause you to be curious or want to ask a question. And we understand that part, but we're going to go through the meeting, and then the department head, if they desire, they can respond to you while we're in the meeting, or they can just let you know that they will talk with you off camera or outside of the Zoom. So we don't want to disregard your question at all.
No
It's
problem.
just the format. Yes.
No problem. I'm sorry. And now I will not ask them
No,
anything
Miss
until
Crystal, go
later.
ahead.
Still on the
That's
phone.
fine.
Is there something posted so that the person can review before the meeting, so that one can ask the question before the meeting starts? Because
So,
I looked on the calendar, I saw the meeting information, but I didn't see anything that I would read prior to the meeting.
right. So we do post our agenda before our meetings. And sometimes you may not know every detail of the meeting. So this is the police report, and then we'll have the town administrator report. So they don't necessarily detail on site, on our website, or when we post it on Facebook. We don't necessarily detail everything that's going to be involved in the meeting. The agenda is just really the outline of the meeting.
Okay.
So unless there's some type of public hearing, and we'll specify, what that public hearing is about, if it's our audit, if it's budget, we always specify those things. But when it's the report from either the police chief or the town administrator, or even the council, everything isn't necessarily detailed.
Okay. All right.
Now,
Thanks so much. Sorry about that.
No problem, no problem. Understanding is very important. And then also, Ms. Crystal, if there's ever, and I know you speak to Mr. Barnes anyway, so if there's ever anything that you feel you'd like us to discuss in the open, and you know it beforehand, please contact him, myself, or any council member and let us know. And we can see if we can address it at that time during our meetings.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
will
just
do.
hold on, don't
Appreciate
go away. Don't go
ma'am.
away.
I'll try. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
It won't be, we won't
Bye-bye.
be long. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I will be brief. A couple, three things to remind you about. January 31st, at 6 p.m. is the Port Towns quarterly meeting. I'll be sending out the Zoom link for that later. Bladensburg is hosting that. If there's anything you'd like to have on the agenda, please let me know and we'll get that on there. March 24th, our economic development team that's doing the strategic plan is continuing to march forward, and March 24th, that's a Thursday from 6 to 8. And again, via Zoom, they'll have the consensus building workshop, and that will involve residents and all of you folks in that particular activity. They're marching ahead well with that particular program. We held our social media project is continuing to go forward, and we held a session this morning that gave us information on the survey component of it, and we'll be sending that out the end of the week, the first part of next week, with those results. It was a very good meeting, got some very good feedback. The citizens, 85 people responded, and then there was also some listening sessions involving several folks, and the mayor can talk more about it if she'd like, but once we get that information out to you, we can certainly review it and talk. The next step of the phase of the process for that project is to do the strategic planning portion and work with us on new formatting and getting branding and templates and strategic actions that we can do to improve. The great thing was, the overall great thing was, the residents indicated they like what we're doing and they like the avenues that we're using in form of our newsletter and website and Facebook. And so that was good to hear. We just need to do a lot of tweaking, a lot of going to the next level. I think she described us as being a 7 out of 10, and we need to go then to an 8 or 9. So they're going to help us get there. The other thing, and the mayor can also tell me if you want to talk about the COVID call last night, or do you want me to?
Mr. Barnes, you can go ahead and talk about the COVID call, and anything I can jump in.
Okay, the county sent out for elected officials and staff to be involved in a COVID update call last night. The emergency management is working with the executive's office, County Executive Alsobrooks' office. They're doing whatever they can to help make sure that Prince Georgians get all of the services they can get to be vaccinated, to have testing kits. There are free testing kits available at the libraries and at selected community centers. We've been sending out that information, but they also indicated that we will be able to apply for testing kits that we can then distribute through the county and state. We need to go through EOC, so we will be requesting those kits. And other than that, I think, Mayor, that was the main points. They're pleased with the responses in Prince George's County. They are moving back to the Curry Recreation Center with their testing facilities and vaccination. Yeah, and so we do have a close by vaccination and testing site at the United Methodist Church on Hyattsville, across from PG Plaza. Hyattsville operates that center. You can go in for testing on, I believe it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, walk in, and then you can get your shots other days. Is that
Saturday?
Right? Yeah. And our food distribution continues with the church on Saturdays from 11 to 12:30. If anyone you know needs assistance there, please let them know. And if you haven't driven by and you want to, please add food to the food pantry at Veterans Park. It's getting lots of use, lots of folks taking advantage of that, of the staples that are placed there. And so please, if you want to add some, don't hesitate.
Non-perishables.
Yes, make sure it's, I'm sorry, yes, no fruits and vegetables or anything that will mold or deteriorate. We have a local resident.
And check the dates.
Is managing that for us, and Maria was the one that came up with the idea with Councilmember Chester. So I think it's going over in the first few weeks, at least. I think it's getting lots of use and lots
Yeah.
of excitement about having it there at that location. And that's
This
all I
is
have,
actually
ma'am.
the second one. I believe the other is in Riverdale, or, yeah, the first one is in Riverdale. So we Maria saw that it was being utilized and brought it over to our trail. So again, it is. We have to continue to replenish it. So we'd appreciate any donations of non-perishables, and just make sure that it's not dated. I know sometimes we keep canned goods and box goods in the cabinet for a little too long. So those who are in need fresh items as well. So, but that was a good thing. Thank you, Mr. Barnes, for your report. Council, any council dialogue, questions, concerns, report, information?
I
Anyone?
have a few questions.
Ms. McCulley and then Ms. Turberville, please. Go ahead, Ms. McCulley.
None of these have to be answered tonight, but something that we started that I want to know, are we still, where we're at with it? One is over at Lafayette Street with we've been talking about either a circle, speed bump, shutting it off. So if maybe the next meeting, we're back on track, because I'd love to get that taken care of, because when I do walk over there, it's still a three-ring circus, people flying up and down the road over there. Another thing, I've noticed I know that the county was going to start letting different areas put up speed cameras for 35-mile-an-hour roads or above. If I remember right, we were talking about doing that on Kenilworth Avenue and incorporating it into our red light camera. So I wanted to check in and see if that's still something we're looking into, or is that something that's, no, it can't be done. I think we need to remind, with the snow that we've had, the last two snows, to remind some of the neighbors that have sidewalks, they need to shovel them. Because if not, people are walking down Decatur Street in the street. And I guess one of the last thing before spring gets here, we've had a problem with the homeless in the woods on Kenilworth Avenue. Backing up.
Bless you.
That was a good one. COVID.
Oh, you could hear it. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with it. That was my husband.
To see what we're going to do to prevent it from coming, the homeless coming back this spring and making their homes up in the woods along Kenilworth Avenue. And I guess the last thing is on Decatur and 52nd, we have the stop sign there. I don't know if we can put up a flashing stop sign or a pedestrian crossing there, but it's a dark area anyway, even with the traffic, even with the street lights there. Can we make it more visible? Because still at night, you take a chance of getting smacked by a car if you're walking. That's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Chief, did you have any comments to that, or you want to speak with Ms. McCulley offline in reference to anything, or Mr. Barnes? Unmute yourself, Chief, please.
He was saying that he agrees with everything I said.
I apologize. That wasn't what I said. But I wanted to respond to all of those things that Ms. McCauley spoke to, and I appreciate it. That means you're taking notes of my previous conversations. All right, so first of all, I want to talk about the speed cameras. During the month of November, I met with the vendor that handles our red light camera optic traffic. And we talked about things that needed to be in place in order for us to put speed cameras along the stretch of Kenilworth Avenue where we've been having some challenges. And so what the vendor has to do for us, the town of Edmonston, is a letter to the state and to the county, and that's what they do on our behalf, requesting favorable consideration be given to putting the speed camera up. And it's just a formality, but you still have to go through. Legislation was passed effective October 1, 2021 that said that in addition to you having speed cameras for elementary, middle, and high school traffic, that you can also do it in those areas where the speed limit is 35 miles an hour and down. So hopefully next week, I can finalize the conversation with our vendor so that he presents the letter, and then I will share that. I will share that with the mayor and council as we move forward. But hopefully in the next 60 days, we can have something in place that has speed cameras at both ends of our municipality along Kenilworth Avenue. Secondly, you mentioned traffic, trucks along Lafayette. I had a conversation with Rod probably 2 months ago, and I've been kind of doing a traffic study and also looking to see what other jurisdictions have put in place where you have truck traffic that travels along a route where we try to redirect them. There are a number of solutions that we can embark on, like putting an island in the street that forces traffic coming south on Lafayette to turn onto Ingraham. And then you just have signs directing them. So then the only traffic that could go north is the lane on the far right on the Riverdale side of Lafayette traveling. So that if somebody was going to try to come south on Lafayette, they would actually be driving on the wrong side of the street. And we could see some positive results from that. If we do that, we also have to set up Hamilton and Gallatin in such a way that trucks can't redirect back down one of those secondary streets and then come back over to Lafayette. So anything we do that affects Lafayette, we also have to do at 46 and Gallatin and 46 and Hamilton. And if we can do that, we have an engineer come out, take a look, give us a couple of proposals, we can put that in place, and it wouldn't be very expensive to do it. We just have to have a plan, get the plan approved, and then move forward with it. But we have not lost focus of that. Officers are writing citations when the opportunities present themselves. We know folks are sneaking when they don't see a police vehicle down Lafayette all the way down to Taylor, then they'll take the chance and come on down. If we see them, we're out, we're citing. So that, Ms. McCauley, is a work in progress. Okay.
Thank you.
You asked about the stop sign at 52nd and Decatur. As you are aware, in the spring of 2021, we put these high profile stop signs up along Decatur as soon as you cross the bridge where the walkway bike trail sits. I'm not sure, Rod, if you remember what the dollar value was. It wasn't that much, but it wasn't cheap either to have those signs. We had to order them and put them up, but we can certainly do that if everybody agrees it's in the best interest of public safety. at 52nd and Decatur, going both east and west. So, you know, I can make a proposal. We'll throw out the dollar amount for your information and consideration. And, you know, if everybody is on board, then we can get that done fairly quickly.
I think,
So.
Chief, they were around $7,500 a sign. Those for the pedestrian crossing flashing ones, we can do the flashing red ones at
Yes.
52nd and Decatur.
Right.
I think the mayor suggested we look at doing the flashing solar ones over on Lafayette at Gallatin and Hamilton also. So I could get you that cost information.
Okay. All right. And then we'll propose it. We'll see what is our best option for doing that. And then we'll move forward. So, all right. And let me see if I had something else. Oh, the last one. One of our residents was on the call. I think it was Crystal. Good evening, Crystal. If she's still here. She's muted, I see. She asked the question about revenue for citations along Lafayette, you know, from Taylor all the way up to Ingraham.
And
The
can we make
officer-
sure Miss Crystal is on? I don't want you to go through that and she's not here. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Right.
Yep, go ahead, Chief.
Okay. The stretch of Lafayette Place from Ingraham down to Taylor Road, the officers have been vigilant in issuing a lot of citations in that area, as well as the stop sign at 52nd and Decatur. If you all know our officers' names, I'm giving a shout out to Officer Ortiz. He's one of our young officers, and he's been very vigilant in writing citations along Lafayette, towing cars parked in violation, and any other ordinance that comes to his attention while he's working. With respect to revenue, the revenue generated as a result of a moving violation along Lafayette would be $85 per citation, but we would never know when the violator would actually pay the citation. And so to give you a number, it varies. Some folks wouldn't pay it at all. If they're Maryland resident, they have to pay it when they get ready to renew their tags. But other than that, I couldn't give you a number because there are just too many citations written. For example, in December, there were 42 moving citations. In November, there were 29 moving citations. In October, there were 225 moving citations. And so I can't give you a dollar amount because they pay, the violator pays when they get ready. And so, you know, you wouldn't have any way of measuring how soon, how quickly, or how late. They might wait a year before they pay the citation. So we wouldn't be in a position to share a dollar value on how much revenue is generated as a result of a citation written, you know, out in the town of Edmonston. So, so those were the 4 questions I made note of and I provided responses to. If there are any other questions, I'll take them at this point. No.
Miss Crystal was, Miss Crystal, as soon as we hear from Miss Ferguson, if you had any other questions concerning Lafayette or that area, you can do so. Miss Ferguson?
Mayor, I just wanted to note that before the town can enter into speed camera, the use of speed cameras, an ordinance will need to be adopted by the town and also a resolution setting out the areas where the speed cameras can be placed. So that it's much more regulated than red light cameras. So I just wanted to note that for you. And as the chief has noted, they have expanded the areas and the hours for use of speed cameras now.
Right.
But it will
Thank you.
require legislation.
Good information. Thank you so much.
thank you, Ms. Ferguson. That whole thing, Mayor and Council, is a package. And we have all of those steps. What comes first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So yes, ma'am, we already have those documents, and we'll present them, and we'll just follow, because all of that is in that bill that was put out initially about speed cameras and all the steps you had to go through. You have to put something in the local paper about the fact that we're doing it, and a couple of other little things. So we'll write all of those things in the ordinance as we move forward.
A number of things need to be in the ordinance, certainly, and I've done a number of those for various jurisdictions, so I'm very familiar with those. And obviously, separately, a contract with whoever the vendor is that's chosen would have to follow your contract rules.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Am I unmuted? I'm not sure if it's
You
coming,
are.
if I'm coming
Yes,
through.
you are.
Oh, okay. Okay, I tried a couple of things. Sorry, with the star six, all of that.
All of that.
No, I just, thanks again, Tracy, and thanks, Chief. I wasn't actually looking for a dollar figure. I just wondered if, when the tickets are administered, if somehow or another the money does trickle down to the town, whether, the people pay when they've got to renew their tags or whenever, but that it's not just handing out warnings, but that there's actually money involved at some level and at some point. So I think I heard the answer to the question was that, you can't give a dollar figure, which I'm not so much concerned with that, but just that people know that we're serious about people violating speed in the neighborhood, and that some dollar amount is associated with the tickets. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Crystal. Appreciate it. And your patience.
Welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCauley. Any other council dialogue, questions, concerns, comments? None. Ms. Tuberville? Did you have something else?
Yeah, I just something that I just wanted to flag for people, as I might bring it back to the council later. So over the weekend, as I texted several of you, WSSC hit an electric line when they were doing a water main repair on Emerson Street. And when they did that, it caught a transformer on fire. And the transformer fire then caused a electrical surge that wiped out my furnace and the furnace of two of my neighbors that I know of. I think there could potentially be more people on the street that are affected by this. And of course, we all had to get emergency repairs as temperatures plummeted over the weekend. And so we would like to try to recoup some of that cost or all of that cost from WSSC. Rod has shared with me some information that WSSC has about how we can just individually try to do that. But since several individuals in town were affected by this, I just wanted to flag it for the council and the town attorney to say that, I wonder if at one point it might, if need be, if it might be useful to have a letter, from the town indicating that this was something that was clearly WSSC's fault and is not something that the residents should be on the hook for.
Thank you, Ms. Tuberville. And that is uncomfortable and unfortunate. Ms. Chester?
I was just wondering, I think I'm unmuted, am I?
Yes.
I was just wondering, because we have this whole series of these water main repairs coming up over the next, I don't know how many, many months, if not over a year, if, sometimes when there's big construction, the contractors will post all kinds of their, who their bond company is, who to call if there are these kind of emergencies, who the project manager is. And I don't remember if that was available on the postcards they sent around, but perhaps Rod or maybe would be the best person, if it's possible to get all of that information for this extended project and just find out, who would we call in an event of an emergency around this project? Who is the project manager? What's their emergency number? And then also just when it comes to things like, you know, the bond and the insurance on this project, so that we just have that on hand if something else like this or some other, you know, just- these are old streets, there's
We have,
old streets, and so
yeah, Councilman Chester, we have sent all of that out. WSSC has sent that all out. It goes out in the newsletter. It went out in the last newsletter with the project manager, the contacts, at WSC, the emergency. We don't have the insurance information because obviously in the bonds, that's not something that they would readily put out, not anticipating that there would be claims. But WSSC has a very detailed claims process that you can call a phone number and online to fill out a claim if there's a claim. So, and we, you know, we have had residents in the past do that process and been successful in some cases and probably not successful in others. But yeah, we're trying to keep out, we're sending out every 2 weeks, we get an update on the calendar of what's going on with the project. And so we send that out. You got one yesterday or today. You got that for the next 2 weeks. For instance, they're doing water main down Buchanan, and then they're moving over to do down 49th Avenue. So we're trying to communicate that out as much as we possibly can for information on this. It's a 2-year project, so it's going to be going on for a very long time.
Just to add to that, I just recently put today on the website update information about what they're working on currently, and it includes the project number, project contacts for it. So each time that WSSC is providing that, it will go on the website to include the numbers so that people will have that consistently about what's going on and who to contact in case of more information being needed.
great, great. Thanks, Avery.
I think, did you have another question, Ms. Tuberville? No, okay. Thought I saw that. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, well, I just wanted to just briefly go over and I'm not going to go over it, just comment that we had the research team meeting today and with Brand New Inc. And it was wonderful. The information that they gathered. And I'll tell you, I was a little hesitant with the research portion because I did not know where they were going and I knew what the intent was, but the avenue they were taking, it seemed long and I didn't know if it was going to be effective. The thing is, it let us know where we are, the efforts that we all make, if it is making a difference and where we could go, how to be, so communication, of course, came up and we're talking about people. So anytime talking about people, talking about communication and how we communicate to our residents. We do a good job at communicating and at least that's what the survey said. We do a good job at that. Of course we could get better and we are a diverse community. So they're gonna help us with ways to meet the needs in a sense, as far as communication, so that there is a comfort level with some of our residents to come out and approach us on both sides. A way for us to also communicate with our residents and make them feel comfortable. Our activities are wonderful and through the roof. They did comment on us and our activities. Could we do less? Yes. To be more effective? Yes. And so we're going to, Mr. Barnes and Ms. Avery are going to try to revamp that with myself and we'll present those things to you. But the overall, as Mr. Barnes said, we are a 7, and that's a good place to be, a 7. That means that, you know, we all know that if you're a 10 already, so what do we need anyone for? What do we need help for? But we're a 7, so that's good. So I'm excited about where we're going to go with this social media and communicating with our residents. I'm excited about it. And I hope all of you are as well. And I just wanted to circle back to Miss McCulley in one of her questions as far as the Lafayette. What I'd like for us to do, and with your support, is create a calming type area. We have to be a little aggressive, but we don't want to kind of put out the other residents that are there. So to create kind of a calming and a good look. And we're going to try some things. And of course, I drive through Hyattsville every single day. And the real Hyattsville, not the Edmonston Hyattsville, but the other Hyattsville. And they have their public works director is awesome. So I have stolen some ideas from her, and I've brought it to Mr. Barnes before. And so I'm looking to possibly kind of do some of those things because it seems to work in Hyattsville. So sometimes if you see something that's working someplace else, you might want to go ahead and try it and not have to reinvent the wheel. Also with the stop signs, it's going to have to be a budget item. I think we all know that, especially hearing the cost of one or two. Decatur Street is prime for flashing stop signs in time. Like, we don't have to do the whole book, but Decatur Street itself, because so much speeding goes on, even though it is a traffic calming, the way the streets are laid out, it's not straight. You kind of have to turn a little bit, but maybe not as much. It's not so inconvenient. If I go over another hump in Hyattsville, I'm going to take another route. So I'm not saying we need speed humps all over the place, but we have to do things gradually and effectively. And I also know Lafayette has been a problem for a while, but we have businesses back there. So just like the chief said, they're going to sneak. Some people are going to try to break those little rules. The other thing is our COVID testing sites are open. They're in the libraries. I'm sure you guys know the libraries. They're in the community centers. It's posted online. If you go to the Prince George's County website, you can get that. The testing is open and available. Will you have a line? Probably, but hopefully we can help when we receive some of our testing kits for employees as well as for our citizens. And we can talk about that later on. Mr. Barnes and I are trying to figure out, the quantity and effectiveness. There has to be some type of guideline. Unfortunately, there might not be, but maybe there's a guideline that we can go by where you test the employees a certain number of times or days, and then have some available for any emergencies for our citizens. But we have to watch out for our employees as well. So I'm excited that testing kits are becoming more available, as well as the vaccine, and the ages dropping to 5 that can get it. So that's pretty much all I had. I had one more thing, but of course I forgot and I didn't type it in. So I had one more thing to inform the council, but that's all I have. And if no one else has anything else, Mr. Barnes, Ms. Avery, I can definitely accept a motion to adjourn this great meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, go ahead. Second.
Oh, I second the motion.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ms. Chester. Now, I also wanted to mention that this wasn't what I needed to write down, but we have an executive director of the Maryland Municipal League who just announced his retirement in November of this year. And he's been there probably 27 years or so, 26, 27 years. He's been a strong part of the Maryland Municipal League. He's done some great things. And sometimes, move on while you're on top, right? So if you have an opportunity, it's great if you can send him email from Edmonston, just thanking him. You may or may not know him, but
An email just came from him to everybody.
yep, sure did. He announced it to the league. Yeah. So that's all I have for right now. And all in favor, please indicate by saying aye to adjourn this meeting.
Aye.
Fantastic. And Betsy, as far as the shoveling, every now and then, we talked about at the department head meeting to remind our neighbors, our residents of certain things. So shoveling during the inclement weather, snow, that's one of those reminders that we can do. We talked about that, so thank you. All right, guys, have a great evening. Thank you for the citizens that signed on. Please come back again.